I keep thinking to myself, I've driven this car before. Not this exact one, but this high performance version of the Camaro, and it was on the track. And it's bugging me when and where. We'll get to that as we go through the video. Welcome to a fun, fast, and collectible car. We do one here every Friday on the channel. You showed up for a particularly nice one today. This is a Camaro ZL1 here in Canada, ZL1 south of the border, with the 1LE package on it. And you can spot that clearly because of the dark hood. You get the big arrow on the front and especially big arrow in the back. This really is the track-ready performance package. If you want to take this car to the track, you can. If you want to just drive it on the street and look cool, it certainly does qualify for that. Before we go any farther, I want to say a big thanks and a shout out to Core Motor Cars here in Vancouver. This is a 2020 model, one of only a handful that's for sale actually in Canada right now. And this car has just 4,500 kilometers on it, which isn't even 3,000 miles. So this car is absolutely perfect. I kind of like the black-white combination. The inside's nice as well. So this has basically the Corvette Z06 or the Z06 engine from the previous generation car with 650 horsepower, all the go-fast looking bits, available with a manual or an automatic transmission. So let's get in this one. I'll tell you more about it, and I think it's coming back to me where I've driven this car before. You know, thank goodness there is a pony war happening between the American brands, because it wasn't that case. You know, maybe some younger viewers don't remember, but everybody got out of the pony car business except for Ford with the Mustang. This car, the Camaro, came back in 2009. Then Dodge brought back the Challenger, and then it was on. You have cars like the Hellcat. You've got this high-performance version of Camaro. Over at Ford, you've got the GT500 and so on. And it's kind of fun to see that there's still competition. There's still people who want these cars, and the fact that you can date them all the way back to the early 60s is kind of cool. And each brand tries to embrace their heritage, especially with design. I think this car looks fantastic. It looks really aggressive and assertive with all the aero especially. This is a real carbon fiber spoiler in the back. You've got the splitters in the front, gives you much more aero. By the way, this 1LE package sheds about 75 kilos of weight. It adds a limited slip differential in the back as well. So we'll get into that as we get driving. As I mentioned, all of them try to capture that 60s vibe, especially on the inside. This one's got the big round air vents, but it's also thoroughly modern at the same time. It's a 2020 model, so you've got OnStar, you've got a Wi-Fi hotspot, you've got the latest communications system. So it's a modern, comfortable car, but also really fast. Big, heavily bolstered Recaro seats with the red stitching, Alcantara on the door cards, and you get it on the dash pad as well. Could be argued this is the one area that maybe Chevrolet needs to work on to make it a little bit more cohesive, but you know, it is what it is. Actually, I had to get in the back seat in order to get the camera there to shoot the dash. It's pretty tight, but if you had little kids, you'd have to move the front seats forward, but you could get little kids in the back. Kind of the same thing you do with a 911, only for kids. All right, start up the beast. What's interesting, I tried to rev up the engine with the camera, you can see it here now, is that it's limited. It will only let you go up to about 3,000 RPM. So this has got brand new rubber on it. Can't be cheap. This car's only got 4,500 kilometers on it, so I guess the first owner burned off some rubber. And Core at Core Motor Cars said, yeah, don't burn up the tires, so I have to be respectful. The car is going to be sold. But this thing is quick. It'll go. My microphone's gone flying. It will go 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds. That's according to Road and Track, and they're pretty good at judging that kind of thing. 650 horsepower, 650 pound-feet of torque. Think the last generation Corvette Z06 or Z06 engine plumbed into this car, and that's exactly what you've got. But it also has the very latest transmission from General Motors and Ford. Are you hearing right? That's right. This transmission was co-developed by Ford and General Motors. As I always say, it's like cats and dogs getting along. It's a 10-speed transmission, and in my opinion, this transmission does its best work with high torque engines, and this certainly qualifies with 650 pound-feet of torque. In addition, you get an adjustable damper system for all four corners. It's a multi-matic. That's the same system that's used in the Ford GT supercar and other vehicles. So a very advanced four-corner suspension, basically set up for going to the track. Also, you get solid bushings in the front suspension. You can really feel all the nuances and cracks and crevices on the road through the steering wheel. So for those people that complain that modern cars have very vague steering, not the case with this. This car, you can feel all of the bumps and undulations in the road. It comes right through the steering wheel and of course the seat of your pants. So this one has the 10-speed automatic, also available with a 6-speed manual transmission. And that's where it's kind of coming back to me. When have I driven this car before? And now I remember. It was at Calabogie Racetrack just outside of Ottawa. It was for a Ford Shelby GT500 program. So we got to go on the track with the GT500 and with a manual version of this car, and I can clearly remember it being a lot of fun. And my takeaway from that, now that it's coming back to me, is that this car felt bigger because it is bigger, it's wider, but handled incredibly well. And actually the instructor that was there said, oh yeah, these cars are really quick around the track. Some people say even quicker than the GT500. You get that supercharged whine from the 6.2 liter engine. There's a supercharger under the hood. You can see the belt there moving up to the supercharger on top of the engine, pumping all of that air into this V8 and producing that 650 horsepower. So back to reality for a second. You can put this in tour, and you know what? It's actually pretty comfortable. The seats are comfortable. It's a big car. It's wide. It's long. So on that front, it's something you could definitely relax in. It's not really for that though. It's for an enthusiast, somebody that gets off on high horsepower coupes and wants to have some fun, and you can do that with this car. There's also the collectability factor. People want these cars because there's just not a lot of them around. There's only a handful for sale right now in Canada. And if you wanted to buy a new one, you'd be hard pressed to get allocation from the dealer. Well, that's fun. That wouldn't get tiring. What's that old saying? There's no replacement for displacement. I like this. This is a lot of car, man. It's a lot of car. Well, thanks again to Core Motor Cars here in Vancouver. Easy to remember the website. It's corecars.com for letting me drive this, and we talk about it every Friday. A cool, fun, and collectible car. Well, this kind of qualifies for all three. It certainly is cool. It's a lot of fun, and you bet it's collectible. Not many of these roll into dealerships across the country every year. There's a very small allocation, and this one, with just 4,500 kilometers on the clock, someone's going to get an immaculate car with brand new tires on it too. All right, well, if you want to follow along and see what we do next week, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and we'll see you next Friday.